Okay, so I'll walk you around each design. So these were the ones that had the hearth, but that's kind of out now. So we won't have to look at those. So what I did here is I did one where the black part of the fireplace is showing, just so you see what that looks like. And in case for some reason the contractor's like, no, that actually has to be, that can't be covered with the stone or whatever material you guys end up deciding on. Just to give you an idea of what that looks like. And then this is the one I did where basically you'd be facing that whole black portion, um, with the stone or the marble or whatever you end up going with. So of course this looks a lot cleaner. It just depends on those technical aspects that I'm just not an expert in. I did pull up. I have to find it. I was looking, and this is san diego.gov, and it's their codes. So it talks about clearances, and it says combustible material 12 inches minimum from firebox. And then 6 inches from fireplace opening is where the mantle and trim can be. So I did 12 inches from here to here is 12 inches. And then I figured since this isn't 12, this is 7, but this is how the fireplace box is made. And then, this is all combustible material. So, there's no non-combustible material coming up to face it anyway. This is also 12 inches, and this ends up being more because from what I gathered in the measurements, this was about 24 inches from this measurement to the wall. So what I've done is, there's no hearth. So basically you're just going to have some kind of transition strip. And I tried to, I didn't do the detailing on shoe mold, but I just put it in so you have a feeling how kind of surfaces will all meet. So because if you do a mantle, you want it to terminate at the edge. You don't want it to come past. So example, if this edge here were to come up and finish at the wall, then you're going to have, this is going to be jutting out, which you clearly don't want. So you're going to have this little bit of wall space, unless you decided for some reason you didn't want any kind of finish, like wood finish material here. This material could extend to this edge. It would just have to be kind of cut to fill this in. But I'm, trying to make it look a little more like a traditional fireplace because you guys did pick a really modern firebox, this kind of corner. Everything I've looked at, you're right, is like super clean lines, very modern or kind of mid-century looking. Um, so I thought by kind of framing it out with some molding, and you can pick something, that's decorative. How I've got this now is it's 4 inches, but if you guys wanted to go with something that's wider, we can. It's just going to push this whole thing out further. And that's what we were just talking about, what's our playroom from this back edge to the front of the fireplace. And from that image you showed me, that's not set. It kind of depends on our design. So this is 4 inches right now, but it could be thicker. So I just would need to know if you want something that's a little more decorative, we can do that. And so I've done it on both sides. So the reason I originally, went with doing the kind of shelving is because I liked the way it kind of evened out the fireplace. It framed it out a little bit better because you don't have as much space on this side because, this is a narrower space. So it kind of, centered this a little more. And just keep in mind, if that is something you guys want to eventually do, that is going to change the mantelpiece, because if this mantle is built, to go all the way to the corner, you're basically going to have to be cutting it off and then, adding on into this corner. And I just said pine because I wasn't sure. Johnny wasn't around for me to ask him. I don't know what material. I mean, you could do it probably out of any kind of, hardwood if you wanted it to be all out of cherry or walnut or whatever it might be. Um, you know, I don't know if that makes a difference with how close it is to the fireplace. And also, I did this in wood just because you talked about Steve kind of wanted more wood in the room. This could also just, be all white, and you could do it all white fireplace. So that's kind of where we're at right now. The height of the mantle to the top of the mantle is 4 feet, so it's 48 inches, which I was looking standard is between 40 and 48. So you have to have it. It's a 4 inch. I used 4 inch molding because I figured that was pretty standard. But then I also added this little bit at the bottom just to kind of help frame that out. And this is where it could be thicker only if you pushed the mantle up, not down. You can't bring this down because you need that 12-inch space here for that clearance for code. So I hope that helps you kind of see, how that edge would be finished. And again, I just kept this really simple for the time being. If you want something with more detail, we can look at that. But just to give an idea of how that edge feels, and then this one of course would just terminate in the wall, and whatever you do on this edge I would just recommend doing the same with the Y's here. It just helps kind of frame it in a little more, and that's what we got.